I'm Brendan Marcel, sitting across from Michael Neislick. This is the Auburn Undercover Podcast, presented by WeHaveDonuts.com, DOUGH nuts.com. Available in Birmingham and coffee shops, Prevail Union coffee shops, that is, in Montgomery and Auburn. Visit WeHaveDonuts.com for more information on how you get your hands on these beautiful and delicious gourmet donuts. Again, a proud sponsor of the Auburn Undercover Podcast. That's WeHaveDonuts.com. Michael, Auburn in the bye week now after a 52-20 victory against Arkansas. We have seen some bad football teams in the SEC this season. There's some really bad football teams. In fact, I mentioned either as a professional covering this or even just as a fan watching college football in the South and living in the South all my life, I have not seen this many lower-tier bad SEC teams in 20 years.
Are these teams tanking? Do they not realize there's no draft?
Yeah, they're not going to get a high lottery pick for having a losing season.
It's hard to determine which team's worse out of this sort of trifecta of garbage we've seen. Missouri, Arkansas, or Ole Miss. I think you said Arkansas was worse.
I think Arkansas is worse than Missouri because at least their offense can score.
But, I mean, Arkansas didn't have a starting quarterback. I don't know how much of a difference that made.
That doesn't matter. As of right now, Arkansas is worse than Mizzou.
As of this moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
They take the loss, but they are up one umbrella. So,
Don't bring that up.
Swings and roundabouts in life.
I lost my umbrella.
That's really all I want to talk about. I just want to make this podcast an hour-long discussion of Brandon's umbrella being confiscated moments after another member of the media got an umbrella into the stadium.
Life's not fair.
And then them dumping every single garbage bag that was in the stadium on top of the umbrella.
Yeah, they literally dumped all the garbage,
which seemed like
on top of my umbrella.
And it was like open garbage, like in just a area where people walk through, which seems like somewhat of a health code violation. But they were like, we need to bury this umbrella as much as we can. Like, it's really all I want to talk about. Well, and then we had another member of the Auburn beat take a picture of the umbrella before the game. It was just sitting there sadly.
Just sitting there by itself.
Hopefully the umbrella found a new home. Somebody stole it. And
it found a new home.
It's not just in a dumpster.
Garbage Juice. Garbage Juice University.
So good. And it was his mother-in-law's umbrella. So that adds to the
that's
story.
why I was so upset. It's like, listen, it's an umbrella, sure.
And he likes polka dots.
But what does that say about how, if I can't keep an umbrella and take care of an umbrella, how can I keep your daughter happy and safe
when
in marriage?
When you're dealing with security, the right strategy is never going, what do you think I'm going to do with these umbrella? Attack somebody? You never kind of provide them with the ideas of what you could do.
Like,
that's
wait.
not, no, you don't do that. You just say, can I please take it in? You did not say please. You said some other words.
I did say other words that were not please.
Literally, like
are you kidding me?
We could examine this for like 2 hours.
Anyway, let's move forward. Life's an umbrella. Sometimes it's open. Sometimes
every week
it's
is different. This week, Brandon lost an umbrella.
Auburn's played some bad SEC teams. Their 4 SEC wins will come by an average of 49-17, 32-point spread there. Their one loss to LSU, very disappointing. Kind of has put Auburn's back against the wall as far as Gus Malzahn's job security because he can't afford another loss before facing Georgia and Alabama. And, they've got a bye week here to heal up. It's interesting. We'll speak a little bit about football here, but we're going to go into some things we're working on the site. But Kevin Steele, the defensive coordinator, mentioned to us Tuesday that, they're a little bit thinner than maybe you thought in the secondary. They've had up to about 6 starters of some sort on defense injured, whether they were playing or not. And they got so banged up that they had to pull another player for a few plays at Arkansas. They had to move safety.
I think it was
Roberts.
probably Carlton Davis.
Carlton Davis. Yeah. They had to move Stephen Roberts from safety to cornerback because they were so thin. But the good thing is Auburn gets a bye week here to heal up. And considering how well the defense has been playing, it's amazing they've been able to do that with so many injuries. Because, you're talking – Marlon Davidson's been playing hurt with a hurt knee. Trey Williams finally returned to the field at linebacker with a hurt shoulder. Trey Matthews has been sitting out the last 7 quarters with a hamstring issue. Carlton Davis is nicked up. Jeremiah Denson's nicked up. Javarius Davis is nicked up. a lot of injuries there, and yet they still perform at a high level.
Yes.
Great insight. Thank you. And offensively, Cameron Petway seems to be getting close to 100%. He had 90 yards and scored all 3 of his touchdowns in the third quarter against Arkansas. Looked like the old Cameron Petway to me on a few of those runs. I was surprised because when he first came in the game in the first half, he looked like the Petway we've seen earlier this season where he just couldn't make a quick cut, and then things changed in the second half.
Well, I don't think Chip Lilly was asked about offensive line health, where everything stands with Mike Horton, because there's some injuries there too. And Darius James went down at the end of that game. X-rays were negative, but the offensive line is still in flux. And his answer, he provided an interesting answer about Markel Harrell. He's like, I was legitimately surprised he played well.
Yeah.
That was a strange way to put that.
Yeah.
I really didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Like, that was a really pleasant surprise. We put him in there, and he wasn't a disaster. I was like, okay, I guess they didn't have high expectations from Markel Harrell.
I guess not, but he did play well. You know who did play late in that game for the first time? Prince Michael Sammons. He played.
Was that the first time he played?
First time he's played his college career. He played in the fourth quarter
Wow.
on the touchdown drive.
He looks
really
like.
close.
Have you seen it? He looks like he's 37
Yeah.
years old. He looks like he's like a doctor. He has like a practice somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hung out with him for a day in his home in Ohio.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's like he looks older than me, and I'm bald.
Yeah, he's a very mature looking man. Like he
Yeah.
should be, has a family of 5 somewhere in Ohio, basically, and just married with kids. He's been married for 30 years.
I think I'll try this football thing.
Yeah, it's like I'll give it a try. Why not? But they're banged up on the offensive line too, and Casey Dunn. I think they need him back. I think
they will get him back next week at A&M. But going forward, let's talk about the future here. Auburn can't lose at A&M.
No.
For Gus Malzahn's future's sake. Auburn will probably be favored there. They should be. They have the better team. A&M might be ranked at that point. They play Mississippi State, I believe, this week. If they beat Mississippi State, A&M, the way it's playing lately, even after that collapse against UCLA early in the season, they've proven that they could be a top 25 team. They went on the road to Florida and beat Florida.
They played Alabama closer than anybody else this
And
season,
they played
except
Alabama.
Florida State. Yeah.
Alabama played them very close, or played Alabama very close at home. I think they're going to be quite pumped up for this game against Auburn. But it's 11 a.m. kickoff, so that weighs in Auburn's hands. Also, Auburn has won every road game in this series against Texas A&M, and A&M's won every road game in this series as well. It's a very strange series. And by the way, Gus Malzahn is 6-0 after bye weeks in his career.
But it just feels like this is a season where every time you think you have something figured out, the opposite happens. Where it's like LSU's down, and then the first half they're gonna truck this team, and then craziness happens, and then you got it just doesn't feel like things have gone kind of as you'd expect. So I mean, look, they're gonna be favored, but do you feel confident that the good Auburn will show up?
The good Auburn? Is there a good and bad Auburn?
Well, the good ones
the
that
good
blew
Auburn
out
showed up in the first half. Well, the first 18 minutes against LSU.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I mean, that Arkansas game was close to the second half. That was when they blew. I mean, that wasn't a blowout in the first half, but
never felt
Arkansas
like
kind of
was
quit.
threatening.
But I'm just saying, Arkansas quit in the second half, basically. Just packed it in.
Yeah,
and left.
because Auburn was beating the crap out of them.
I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel like you have a high degree of certainty that the offense is going to be
I think
rolling.
that's the issue for all the fans. They're very, very concerned that they're not one that the A&M game is going to be questionable, but two, Georgia and Alabama are both in the top 3 nationally,
right?
And though those games are here at Auburn, and Auburn's actually favored in an early line against Georgia by 3 points here. Fans just don't want to lose to the both of them for a fourth straight year.
No.
So I mean, that's what this whole season's come down to. Everybo's been saying it since the end of last year. Can you beat Alabama and Georgia? Gus Malzahn was asked that several times at SEC Media Days. And if he loses to A&M and then loses to those two teams, his career is probably done here.
If he wins against Alabama, A&M, and loses against those two teams, his career is probably done too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Right. So, but what if he loses to A&M but then beats Georgia and then loses to Alabama?
And then you flip a coin and you just that's what it basically is.
So it's just one of those things. I know a lot of people are asking. I'm even getting questions here on Twitter for our Q&A session here later in the show. it just depends on how these wins and losses add up and also how they look. And as you mentioned on a Facebook Live recently, it's all about optics. Is Auburn very, very competitive, and are these games close against the number 1 and number 3 teams in the country, or are they getting blown out by one of them?
Well, and the other thing, we haven't talked about this yet.
Or heck, are they getting blown out by A&M?
And we won't talk about it for a little bit because Georgia's after this game. But, you know, it was interesting. At Michigan State, I think for Tom Izzo's first, I want to say 15 years of his career.
About basketball?
But listen, applies. Every player that went through his program made at least one Final Four in 4 years. There was all of his first, however many classes, 15 classes or something. Everybody could make it. The streak ended in recent years, but now if you have Auburn, if they were to lose to Georgia and Alabama this year, or either or, that class wouldn't have. They would have lost every single game to Georgia. Can you imagine what that'll do for Georgia on the recruiting trail, and what the optics of that are? Like, you're going to have players that went through their entire. Then this will be the first time ever gone through their entire career, 4-year career, without winning a game against Georgia and Alabama. And at the same time, on top of it, if they were to do it both, which would be just insane. So you have two, not just one streak, but 2 streaks, and at the same time, not good.
That's not good. That's not good for a coach, and that's why Auburn.
Because how do you survive that? And especially when, Alabama's a little bit different because they recruit nationally, but Georgia is the team you're going against head-to-head basically on every guy that's a guy.
Every single day on the recruiting trail, they're dealing with Georgia.
And how do you say we're on an upswing or we're going to beat this team when you haven't beat them in 4 years? And they're crushing on the recruiting trail as well.
They're crushing on the recruiting trail under a second-year coach,
right? Who
has them at number 3 in his second year,
and who is apparently just going to take every good quarterback.
Yes,
that's
and
a recruit.
Beating Auburn for Justin Fields and others. And Auburn has a coach who's been around for a while and has not beaten Georgia,
right?
And is not beating Georgia on the recruiting trail right now either. So that's something you've got. There's a lot of things to weigh, and the other factor in all this that we haven't even mentioned yet is who's going to be making the decision, who's going to be the athletics director for Auburn at that time, and what do you do?
I think it paralyzes kind of the secondary decisions. I don't think that anything could be made until
the big decision.
The big decisions made. Yeah.
We will see.
And I mean, if they win out, I guess he could. It doesn't matter. But it just doesn't feel like that's
all right. Well, on the website today, I went back and looked back at my preseason predictions. I was wrong about Clemson. I was wrong about LSU.
Yeah.
I think everybody's wrong about LSU. But looking ahead in my predictions, I've got Auburn beating A&M, and I've got Auburn beating Georgia in a close game. I think the Georgia-Alabama games have the potential, because of Auburn's defense and possibly being completely healthy on defense, those being close games at home. If they're on the road, I think it'd be a different deal. And I think Auburn will be able to eke out a win against Georgia. In fact, I mean, if you want to go by the computers, ESPN's FPI favors Auburn against Georgia, despite Georgia being ranked higher, because it's at home, and maybe Georgia's schedule hasn't been as tough as Auburn's. They haven't faced the type of quality opponents, even though, as we mentioned, Auburn's played some really terrible SEC teams. But at least Auburn's played at Clemson. And say what you want about LSU, but they're a 2-loss team, and Auburn went on the road and lost there. And, LSU's ranked right now, even though they lost to Troy earlier in the season. So the way I see it, wins against A&M and Georgia and a loss against Alabama, and I think that'll be enough for Gus Malzahn to come back for a 6th season.
So 2-1 in the big game, 2-1 in the SEC schedule. I think if they were to, I don't know, they'd have to. Yeah, I guess he'd survive that.
Be 9-3. You don't fire 9-3 coaches.
No, you probably don't.
Unless you're Nebraska and you just want to go down to the hell pit for the rest of eternity as a football program.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't think you fire a 9-3 coach, even though they lose to Alabama, because you've got Jared Stidham probably coming back. You've got a lot of good pieces coming back offensively, defensively as well, though. You're going to lose some linebackers. You're going to lose Trey Matthews. You're going to lose some secondary guys. You might lose Jeff Holland to the draft because he's got a chance here at defensive end, or Buck, so to speak, the linebacker spot. Yeah, to break the Auburn SEC, the Auburn sack record.
Yeah.
So
say that 10 times fast.
I know. I just kept screwing that up, but
it just begs the program. Is there going to be, if they go 9-3? Is there going to be optimism about sort of Malzone and what he's doing kind of going
I think
forward.
the fan base will be about what it is right now.
And I just think you're kind of stuck in the mud a little bit. I don't think you could fire him, but if they were to get blown out against Alabama and you still go 2-1, you beat Georgia, it's just going to be tough long term. This team needs to, I don't know, it just seems kind of stuck in the status quo basically. And that's not, in the shadow of Alabama, you can't. That's not a great place to play.
To be quite honest,
are you going to be quite honest?
Yeah. If Auburn, I hate it when people
but
say that.
not very honest, just a little bit honest,
or makes it sound like they've been lying.
Yeah, you've been.
But Chip Lindsey says it a lot. But if you think about it, even if they did beat A&M and Georgia this season, it's pretty much on par with last season because Auburn should have beaten Georgia last year, but their quarterback's arm had fallen off, and they lost because they threw a pick six with the quarterback's arm falling off. So, in a way, beating Georgia this season, even though Georgia's better, record-wise would almost be similar to last season in a lot of ways.
Like I said, stuck in the mud. Your program just kind of stuck.
But how do you fire a guy that's 9-3? And who the heck are you getting?
That's true.
I mean,
no, it's all very true. It's true. I agree, but I'm just saying, when you're in the shadow of what the other guys are doing, and then you got Georgia on the other side, you're kind of in a tough spot. You need some enthusiasm because if you don't, you're going to get further behind.
Yeah, but who you hire?
I don't know.
See? You don't have all the answers.
The board has answers. Chip Kelly for $6 million, I think. They're bringing in PJ.
Well, I'll tell you what. If they want a big name, they're going to have to break the bank.
Brett Bielema might be available.
Brett Bielema will be available.
Butch Jones might be available.
Yeah. Some people on our board. We'll just bring this up because we put it up in our what we were hearing.
John Gruden might be available, right?
If I ever hear that name again, he's part of the reason why I don't even watch Monday Night Football.
Because
I just hate hearing his name.
Is Mike Leach out there? Some people want Mike Leach.
Leach is alive and out there, yeah. But he's apparently hired a private investigators to look at Texas Tech. He can never keep things quiet. No, but there's some talk out there. I think it was started by Paul Feinbaum about, hey, he was just kind of asked, do you think Gus Malzahn could go back home to Arkansas, Coach? And he's like, hey, I could see it. And everybody thought of it as being like, it's going to happen.
He hasn't talked to Paul Feinbaum hasn't talked to Gus Malzahn in years. I'm pretty sure
they haven't. They don't.
They're not close.
I don't think they've talked ever. So maybe once.
I think he did an interview with them in 13 or 14 or something like that.
So anyway, listen, I've got friends up there in Northwest Arkansas. I know people up there, having worked there and lived there most of my formative years. Unless something has changed, I don't see Gus Malzahn getting a lot of love up there and being hired. There's some big money boosters, especially in Central Arkansas, that do not like him.
Yeah.
There's one big booster I can think of specifically in Northwest Arkansas who is pretty much the guy who gets coaches hired, doesn't like him. Unless things have changed and they just think that that's what's going to work, I don't see that happening at all. I don't see them doing it. Plus, I was told that they're really wanting to focus on Texas and recruiting. Arkansas's best teams have always had when they have great players from Texas, and Brett Bielema's kind of killed that pipeline a little bit for whatever reason, and they want to do that. So keep an eye out on for Arkansas job like a Chad Morris or someone else with Texas ties. But as it stands now, I just don't see how Gus Malzahn, even though it makes sense from he's coming home standpoint, I don't know. Unless Gus Malzahn, his agent, at the end of the season, and they kind of see the writing on the wall, even if they did beat Georgia or something like that, and he's like, I don't want to be here and get fired next year or something.
Right.
Maybe he makes a strong push and they convince people at Arkansas. But that's all of hypothetical things. But as it stands now, I think it would be tough.
But like you said, a minimum would have to be $5.5 million a year. All you're looking at.
Arkansas would spend it.
But I'm saying that's what it'd have to be, and he'd have to get the money people convinced to be able to lay that out.
You're exactly right. So, we'll see. Also on the website, you remember in the preseason, everybody, we did a piece ranking every single player on the roster. I did that. I'm not doing it again, but Michael is here during the bye week.
Re-ranking.
You're re-ranking the players. I haven't seen any of your list.
No.
Kind of give us an idea of what you're doing.
Well, we should go back and look. Do you remember who you had number one?
No.
Do you want to know who you had number one?
Who'd I have?
Cameron Petway.
Well,
that didn't work out.
He got hurt.
What's interesting, some of the interesting things, 6 players on the list are no longer on the team. Two of them on the top 15.
Really, was Sean White one of
Sean
them?
White and Kyle Davis.
I just thought Sean White would need
Kyle
it
Davis.
at some point.
Yeah.
And Kyle Davis, I thought, is
I
the
think
best.
it's fair.
Kyle Davis was the best receiver on the team.
Who do you think you had as your top receiver? Do you remember?
Probably Nate Craig Myers.
No, you didn't. Eli Stove at number 10.
Okay. Well, because of his ability to run the speed
Yeah.
sweeps, I figured he touched the ball more, which I guess he not necessarily has, but he's had
Can
some
you guess
huge
where you had
plays.
Jeff Holland?
Oh, man. Top 8.
24.
24?
24.
What a moron that Brandon Marcello guy is.
24. So your top 5 was Karen Petway, Stidham, Braden Smith, Daniel Carlson, Deshaun Davis. Nothing crazy there outside of Petway, but that's sort of been injuries.
You can't fault me for that. He had 1,200 yard years.
And Sean White, Kyle Davis, you couldn't have predicted that.
You can't predict it.
Yeah, and a lot of the change comes in, Auburn's used a lot of players differently, kind of at the second tier guys.
Yeah.
You had Derek Brown really low. You had him at 33, Jamel Dean 35. Those are guys that are obviously much bigger roles now.
So negative.
Malik Willis at 45. He gets a big jump, but just kind of situation. This one, 54 for Casey Dunn. You had him behind Caleb Kim.
Oh, man.
Which didn't turn out to be right.
Oh, man. Way off.
Way off on that.
Way off.
So that's kind of some of the highlights. So I'm going to be putting up a poll too. Who would be your number 1 player through 8 weeks?
Number 1 player through 8 weeks, Jeff Holland.
That's what I'm going to go with. Number 1. I think he's the best player right now.
He's the best player on the team.
He's impacting the most snaps on defense. He's impacting almost every play. And I think you pointed us on Twitter. It was the night after the game or the next day if you rewatched it. The quarterback hurry stat, why keep it if you're just going to...
Well, I've always been a big proponent for removing that stat. Or
just kind of throwing stuff at the wall. Like, he had 2 or 1. Jeff Holland had 1. And he literally had his hand on a quarterback 6 times outside of having a sack.
I think he had a conversation with Cole Kelly throughout the game. They just kept coming
every
back
time,
goes,
just
knocking
knocking
hey,
him.
what are you going to do? What's a good place to eat here?
Yeah.
And they come back the next time and go, oh, okay, what about
So that was bizarre. But he's just...
They gave Auburn 3 quarterback hurries.
Which is
complete BS.
Which is insane.
They had at least 10.
So he's got 8 sacks, and like you said, 12 is the record for Auburn, so he's closing in on that. And it's been a rarity for anybody to hit double digits here at this program, and seems on course. I mean, he's just been improving as the year goes along. Teams are obviously scheming against him. It doesn't matter.
No.
Forcing turnovers. Just really impressive. I think he's a clear number 1. I don't think there's much.
And
debate.
I think he's going to be gone
I
for
think
the
he's gonna be
NFL
gone,
draft if he keeps it up and makes that decision.
So
Especially, I mean, listen, he's got to have a big game against either Georgia or Alabama.
if he disappears against Georgia and Alabama, that's kind of how he goes in the offseason. It's going to hurt a little bit, but if he has good games, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't go out. So,
Right.
top 5, I got Holland. Stidham stays at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair. My number 3, Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah, sure.
He takes a big jump. I think you had him 9. You saw what happens with him out of the lineup. When he's healthy, I just think he's a special player, and I think you kind of see what he means to this offense. I had 4, Austin Golson. He's not maybe top end, the sort of best offensive lineman, but his ability to play it.
You have him above Braden Smith.
But just his ability to play every position, he's kind of given them.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
They've been. I mean, look, he's played all 5. He's made sure that they haven't had to go to the worst case scenario. They've been able to kind of go to Prince Tega to left tackle instead of doing something crazy. I just think that's been a big deal. And then obviously play center, which Gus Malzahn says the second most important position on the offense. And then Deshaun Davis, I kept at 5. What he's been able to do, especially with Trey Williams going out of the lineup.
I agree.
They haven't missed a step at linebacker, and he's gotten better, I think, when Trey Williams has been out, just moving around really well, been just involved on everything. So that's kind of where I was at.
So my top 5 was pretty good.
It's not bad. Not bad. I dropped
As far
Petway.
as a predictor.
Petway, I dropped down to 20.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do?
I would probably maybe put him further.
Some other, let's see what big risers. Derek Brown jumps up 20 spots.
Sure.
Who else? Oh, Nick Coe, you had a 47. So he's a big.
He's had a big year.
I mean, he's bigger than he's more important to the defense than I think anybody predicted. So I put him at 23. Casey Dunn made a big jump. Nate Craig took a tumble.
Yeah.
Poor Nate Craig.
Yeah.
Top receiver I had is Ryan Davis. You had him at 29. He's at 11. I didn't expect that from Ryan Davis before the season either.
Okay. Speaking of which, where did I have Will Hastings?
Nowhere on the list because he wasn't a scholarship player.
That's right. I only ranked scholarship players.
So he's an NA. So you get a pass on that one. I put him at 22, but
yeah,
I think he's the second receiver.
So you've got
or third. Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton is second.
Yeah. So you've got Cameron Petway above Will Hastings.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because Cameron Petway still got a bank that if he's healthy, he's capable. I mean, look what he did in that second half. And he wasn't even fully healthy.
Yeah, sure.
He's a good player.
He's good at his job.
Ryan Davis, I think, is your top receiver, which is really surprising to me.
And he's throwing a touchdown pass.
And he's throwing a touchdown. I mean, you like you said, you had on your list, too. I mean, Eli Stove, I think he's more of almost a running back than a receiver at this point. You got Kyle Davis off the team. Just really surprising that none of those sophomores have sort of made the impact that you kind of expected.
It's not good to be seeing that, and you wonder about the coaching. So that'll be going up first thing.
Yeah.
Probably by the time everybody's listening to this, Wednesday, correct?
Yeah, yeah. And so we'll put up a vote too for who people are. It'll be interesting to see if everyone agrees about Holland being the MVP or they put Stidham just because quarterback's a quarterback.
Stidham's on pace to be the top passer as far as yards in the Gus Malzahn era as a head coach here. Nick Marshall had like 2,400 yards. He's on pace to do like 2,700. And he could possibly pass Cam Newton into that 2010.
Interesting.
If he continues on this pace. He's averaging 216 yards a game right now. I think Cam Newton was just under that. But, we'll see going forward if they can keep that up. I thought Jarrett Stidham would have a 300-yard game at some point this season by now. Hasn't happened.
Just hasn't thrown it enough.
Right. But, he threw 37 times.
And the two games, yeah.
I figured he would at some point, but they just haven't thrown the ball a lot. And I guess they're just not going to.
And since teams are guarding against the middle of the field, you just can't throw there ever.
You can't test that.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. What are you? Who are you kidding? Okay, let's go to listener questions here on the Auburn Undercover podcast, presented by WeHaveDonuts.com. Blake Talley asks, hypothetically speaking, if Auburn were to get a new coach, would they keep Kevin Steele as defensive coordinator? I'm sure they would have to look at him. In fact, I would think Kevin Steele will get an interview for the head coaching job.
Yeah, when they've been bad, the defense hasn't been terrible. I mean, defense kind of had some lapses against LSU, but defense is staying pretty good. And if the season closes out with them playing pretty well against Alabama and Georgia, I don't think you'll see him be sort of shown the door. There'll be talk of keeping him around in some capacity for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm sure he would like to stay in the state and the retirement system.
Yeah, that's been the word. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. But he's done a great job.
I mean, if Alabama puts up 75 points, then the conversation might change.
Yeah. West Virginia, Clemson.
Exactly.
Chase Tidwell asks, will Stephen Leath, he's the president of Auburn University, as most of you know, will he be more hands-on as a president in terms of athletics? Could he replace athletics director Jay Jacobs and Gus Malzahn at the same time? Yeah, that could happen. But I would think that he would make the move to replace the athletics director before there is even
because you don't want to hire a coach without hiring that. Because the athletic director, you want them to be on the same page and that be that person's guy. You don't want discord right away. So could fire them both. I think you hire Jacobs' replacement first.
And listen, Stephen Leath has a lot of things on his
plate
right now.
Got a full plate, huh?
Yeah, I mean, not just athletics, and there's plenty with athletics right now. Everybody saw the story come out this week about a former assistant track coach suing the board of trustees and others. Anyway, it's just every day it seems to be something new with the athletics department. As you might be hearing sirens in the background as we record this outside the athletics complex. But Stephen Lee's got a lot on his plate, not just with athletics, but with the university as a whole. He's trying to get his own people on board inside Sanford Hall. He's dealing with all the other colleges on campus. Guy's a busy dude, busy president. But I do think he's a hands-on guy with athletics. He was at Iowa State from everything I was told, and I think he will be here too. I think the silence on Jay Jacobs and all these issues has been deafening, and as we've been saying all along, the groundwork's being laid out to get rid of Jay Jacobs. I think it's just a matter of when, not if. But Jay Jacobs has found miraculous ways to survive in the past in 2012. But I wouldn't even be surprised if something happened this week, folks.
But as I've been saying, if everybody predicts every day J.K. Jacobs is going to be fired,
I know.
Someday you're going to be correct.
I agree,
but
this is the first time I've predicted something.
This is your first. All right, so we'll keep you to it.
But here's what I'm saying: it could happen this week. I'm not saying it's going to happen this week. Russell asks, if Auburn drops the last 3 SEC games and Malzahn is fired, who does Auburn go after? You know, I don't know. Maybe Clay Helton at USC. He seems to be a popular name.
But didn't he just get blown out again?
Yes,
so
he
I
got
mean,
blown out by Notre Dame.
if he has a bad enough record where he's available, that's not great.
I mean, if you can't win a lot of games with Sam Darnold as your quarterback, what the heck are you going to do in the SEC?
Right.
I like Bobby Petrino, but I know there's a lot of people that have issues with hiring him. I'd hire him.
You get on your bike and go get him, huh?
Sure. Do it. You want to win football games? You want to compete against Nick Saban? Go get Bobby Petrino. That guy doesn't sleep. He's a robot. Who else? Jeff Brom at Purdue. He's a Bobby Petrino guy. He's actually lost a game or two here lately.
I think they're 1-3 or 1-4 in the Big Ten, so that's not great.
Yeah, a lot of people are looking at the coach at Iowa State, Matt Campbell, who actually was hired when Auburn's president, Stephen Leath, was the president at Iowa State. Maybe that's a guy that could be a possibility. He's got a huge buyout, however. He's very young. I think he's like 36 years old. But I don't know if that would really be an option and be a fit in the SEC. He's been a Midwestern guy. He was at Toledo and Bowling Green before Iowa State, so I don't know. The problem is, as is every season, is the market and who's available and who these other teams are going after. Because I don't think there's any denying that Tennessee and Arkansas will be open in the SEC.
And I think a lot of these teams are going to move quicker than Auburn, too.
Right. I'm sure they're already making
plans.
Yes, they're sending feelers out through unofficial channels to people.
Mm-hmm.
Chip Kelly's name's going to come up in a lot of places. It'll be interesting. I know Tennessee fans, and I keep seeing this, they keep mentioning John Gruden still. I don't get it. But anyway, yeah, I mean, if Auburn loses out, I don't see how you keep Gus Malzahn. King Pat asks, is Nate Craig Myers in the doghouse?
Not that we know of.
Not that we know of, but they do need to throw the ball to him more.
The ball goes where it goes, Brandon. I don't understand why you're so focused on targets.
Yeah, I don't either. Well, that's about it for questions. A lot of repeat questions on the Twitter machine. Anything you want to discuss outside of football?
I mean, I would, but it's like 0 degrees outside, so I'm so distracted.
Michael wears shorts and flip flops everywhere he goes.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, this guy.
It's not fake news.
This guy is not smart. This is like bringing an umbrella.
It's like bringing an umbrella to a stadium, and this umbrella was like 4 feet long. I guess I would want to talk about that some more, but that's all I got. The idea that you thought you were going to get that umbrella into the stadium just boggles my mind.
I've brought umbrellas into other SEC stadiums.
And if you haven't seen the picture of all the garbage on the umbrella, I encourage you to check out Brandon's Twitter feed. He should have that as his pinned post, because it is really a humorous amount of garbage. It's not just like one bag. It's like all the bags of garbage in Arkansas.
I just remember walking out of that elevator and you just started laughing so hard. Like, I didn't even really realize there was trash yet, and I just heard laughter.
It was a great moment. It's fantastic.
Oh, my goodness.
R.I.P. umbrella. We hardly knew ye.
No, I hardly knew it. I got it in the car on the way, and then and
what's funny is like he doesn't show the part where we're walking, we get out of the car, And he takes the umbrella out of the back seat, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I got my umbrella." And I'm like, "I know it's an umbrella, but like, you're not going to get that in the stadium. You're there's 0% chance I'm going to. I've taken umbrellas to every SEC stadium there is. This umbrella is coming with me." Sure enough, when we get there, first thing they're like, "What do you think you're doing?" And it was amazing. I wish it was on. I wish there was a video. I wish there was a video.
Someone probably snuck a video of it because it went on for a while.
It was great stuff.
Yeah. So.
No, other than that, I got nothing.
Well, enjoy your bye week, everybody. I know I will. If no news breaks, I'm going to try and play the new Super Mario Odyssey game on Nintendo Switch that comes out this week. And maybe go to a haunted house and watch Stranger Things when it hits Netflix.
So you're 15 years old. Congratulations.
Yeah,
maybe
I don't care. I'm a child at heart.
That's right. No, you're actually like a 75-year-old man at heart.
Yeah, but I like
I like Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. Well, at least I'm not you.
End of sentence.
So last week, you're like, "Hey, you want to go see Thor next week?" I'm like, "What? Thor doesn't come out next week." Yeah, duh. Oh.
Yeah, it was sad. That was a heartbreaking moment.
It's like,
that was a heartbreaking moment.
You want to go vote in the next election next week? No, that's...
we could go see Happy Death Day. I think that's still in theaters.
That doesn't interest me.
I like time loop shows and movies for some reason.
You're weird.
Yeah, it's a very specific category of a category.
Speaking of which, when I get off this podcast, I got to go home and watch the final episode of Mindhunters.
You liking it?
Netflix. Yeah. We
really
have one
good.
episode left.
So you've gotten to the what's his face? The the bird scene?
Yes.
That's right. It's good stuff.
That's
a good show. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not very gory, but just the subject matter. But it's very well done and very good.
Yeah,
I'd recommend it.
Yeah, we're on the last episode. I'm going to go check that out maybe tonight.
We'll enjoy
anyway, so all right, that's the Auburn Undercover podcast presented by WeHaveDonuts.com. Go to auburnundercover.com or auburn.247sports.com for full, complete coverage as Auburn ends the near the bye week, and then also as we follow everything else off the field. Check us out on social media at Auburn 24/7 Sports on Snapchat and Instagram, at Auburn 24/7 on Twitter, and of course, you can follow us on Twitter. Just look for our names; you'll find us. Maybe.
Except Brandon doesn't have an umbrella.
No umbrella.
Tweet
What?
umbrella emojis at Brandon every day and all day, and.
Isn't there a
we'll
Beyonce song where she says "My umbrella"?
I don't know, but I just love the idea that you have no umbrella.
I have umbrellas. Listen, I bought one of those Better umbrellas off of TV.
I don't know what that means.
You never seen the Better umbrella?
I hope that gets confiscated too.
I don't bring those to the stadium.
Oh, because you can't get them in the stadium.
No, they're expensive.
So
they're like
you
$60.
knew it the entire
Listen,
time.
They're the type of umbrellas that they don't fold into your car, so you get the water, but it folds out, so it catches the water, and then you can dump it, and then.
Doesn't that get heavy?
No. And it's double stitch. I got the double stitched Better umbrellas. It's like $50-$60. I got them off TV. They're like my luxury umbrella that I only use in special times. But
people.
What? You can't what?
I don't even double stitch umbrella.
It's double stitched.
It's good. It was good. It was good. It was a good podcast.
Go buy some pants. How about that?
Boom.
They should allow you to. SEC Stadium should make you wear pants.
I did. I actually wore pants and shoes.
Yeah, I saw it. Basketball media days. Did you wear pants Saturday night?
Yes, I did.
So you weren't just sitting there in your underwear?
No, I wore pants and I wore pants to basketball media. Why were you looking at what I was wearing?
I wasn't looking at you. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember you.
I thought you said you. No, I was. No, yes, I was.
At basketball media days, I saw you wearing pants. I saw a video.
That's what I'm saying. How do you know what I was wearing at basketball media? You weren't in
someone
attendance.
tweeted a photo of media members
of my pants,
and you're right there. You're right there standing.
Mike's wearing pants.
I'm like, Mike's wearing jeans. I don't think I've ever seen him wear jeans before.
Yeah, I wore him through jeans twice. I wore him because it was I thought it was going to be a formal event. I didn't know they were going to stick us in a closet in a back hallway of some hotel.
Well, listen, basketball in the SEC, it just means
it
more.
Does not. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
This table we're sitting at is about the size of the entire space we had for basketball media days.
Hey, basketball season's coming up.
Hey, yes it is.
And the FBI investigation's still going on.
Still there.
Just hovering.
We're trying to work around it. We got some good this week. Spending some time on season preview content. Got some good features. that I don't think you'll see anywhere else, if I'm correct.
These
before the
features,
season.
will they be on players that'll still be here?
I believe so.
Okay,
I believe so.
good.
So look for those things. And I know people have been complaining about negative coverage and
Yeah, you've been horrible. You've been the most negative.
well, with the basketball, just a lot about the FBI, but we're not. It's just the news. It's what it is. It's the news, and you got to cover that first. But we're going to be doing some other stuff, and we're not ignoring everything else. So,
Okay. Go to our website,
what's that website again?
auburnundercover.com.
Yes,
We're undercover.
but not undercover of umbrellas.
I hate you.